Omayanantmirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshornitanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanshakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavajanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaura Trise Namaha. So today is the Divine Appearance Day of Srila Gadadhar Pandit Goswami, most intimate associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who performed the supreme seva to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his pastimes of Adarya Madhura Ras in Gaura Lila, as Srila Sridhar Maharaj has expressed. And Gadadhar Pandit has this very unique position in Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Srila Sridhar Maharaj has given this most extraordinary verse, describing the seva that Gadadhar Pandit, that supreme seva that Gadadhar Pandit offered to Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu, he came particularly to taste the mood of separation in the heart of Srimati Radharani. And when Mahaprabhu was experiencing those depths of separation, particularly Gadadhar Pandit, along with Srup Damodar and Ramananda Rai, they offered the supreme relief to him. And that verse of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he's describing how Mahaprabhu, almost every day he used to come to Gadadhar's place. Gadadhar had stayed at Tota Gopinath, where he worshipped this deity of Gopinath, Krishna. And it is very close to our temple. It is like a 5-minute walk from our temple in Puri, and very close to the ocean. And as Gurudev described, Mahaprabhu's regular daily program is he would come from where he was staying in the Gambhira, and he would stop first to visit with Haridas Thakur and Rup Sanatan, where they used to stay at Siddhabakul. And then he would go for his daily bath in the ocean. And then he would, after his bath, he would come and visit Gadadhar Pandit. And Gadadhar Pandit, he would read the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. Nilamboditate Sadas Nilamboditate Swaviraha Kepamvitam Srimad Bhagavati Kathamadhiraya Sanjivayam Bhatiya Srimad Bhagavatam Sarasvanayana Ashrapayanai Pujayan Goswami Prabhudur Gadadhar Vibhor Bhuyat Madheka Gati. And every day Gadadhar would supply these verses of Bhagavatam to Mahaprabhu as if giving the relief of intoxication, like if a friend is suffering from some heartbreak because of a separation from a loved one, some pain caused by a loved one. Then one may offer their friend some wine, to give them some relief. And so in the same way, Gadadhar Pandit would offer, as Mahaprabhu was, Swaviraha Kepamvita, Mahaprabhu in the mood of Radharani is suffering from separation from his own self. It is, most extraordinary thing. Swaviraha, his own separation. And as Bandhavam, as his dear friend Gadadhar, he's offering these verses of Bhagavatam to sanjivayam bhatiya, to enliven him, reviving him, giving him life. And Srimad Bhagavatam Sada Sanayanashu Payanai Pujayan, and Gadadhar Pandit, he is offering this heart service for Mahaprabhu. And as Gadadhar is reading, he is also feeling some intense divine emotion, and tears are pouring from his eyes as he's reading, and those tears are falling onto the pages of Bhagavatam like flower offerings. And those tears, they're also washing away the letters of Bhagavatam. So this was the extraordinary service of Gadadhar. This verse of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, it is, ontologically speaking, it is so extraordinary. Gadadhar Pandit is the manifestation of Srimati Radharani, as Srila Sridhar Maharaj has described, after Krishna had, stealing that heart, after he had plundered the heart in Halo, as Srila Sridhar Maharaj expressed, and as is expressed in the writings of Srila Rupa Goswami. Krishna, he plundered the wealth of the heart of Srimati Radharani, and appeared, Radha Bhava Duti Suvolitam, Nomi Krishna Srupam, enhanced by the heart and halo of Radharani. By her divine mood and her golden effulgence, he appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what was left over, that was Gadadhar. So very extraordinary, extraordinary position, extraordinary service. Gurudev and Srila Sridhar Maharaj, they've described his position as like one who has lost their greatest wealth. Someone has stolen their greatest treasure, and then if someone takes your greatest treasure, then what will you do? You will go running after them. And so Gadadhar, he was like a shadow to Mahaprabhu, and always had very, very quiet mood, very reserved and very quiet mood, very simple, humble nature. Srila Gurudev, he commented how persons, people are always trying to take advantage. He was speaking amongst the devotees. Often devotees, they will take advantage of others. And he said, but Gadadhar, he would never take advantage of anyone. Very, very, very gentle nature. And there's the very like a classic example of that was the incident with Vallabha Acharya, described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Vallabha Acharya, he came with some pride to Mahaprabhu and told him, I've written so many explanations of the name of Krishna. Will you hear that? I think was it with you? We were remembering that the other day. He said, I've written so many, maybe 100 explanations or something about the name of Krishna. And Mahaprabhu would not hear from him. He dismissed him. And so naturally, all the other devotees, in Mahaprabhu's group, they also would not hear from him. If Mahaprabhu won't hear from him, then we also won't hear from him. And so Vallabhacharya, he was embarrassed because Mahaprabhu had rejected him, and so he tried to regain his sense of prestige by approaching others, so they would also hear, but they all rejected him. But then he went to Gadadhar, and because Gadadhar's nature was so gentle and so submissive and so humble, then Gadadhar felt he could not say no. He felt, oh, he's an honorable Vaishnava scholar. How can I say no? That would be rude. So he felt, I don't want to hear from him, but at the same time, I feel I have to give him some honor. And it's a very interesting example, because it's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita how he felt like, all the other devotees, they will criticize me, like they won't know what's in my heart, and they will all criticize me for listening to this person. But Mahaprabhu, he is omniscient. He will understand. He will know my heart. Which is a very nice example, because in our service life we come across these types of situations where we may have to do things that are unpopular or are not understood. And we may have to face criticism. But if we have the confidence that Guru and Gauranga, they know our hearts, they will understand, then that will give us the confidence to do the duty that we feel we must do. So, but then what happened, that Gadadhar, he tolerated this Vallabhacharya by listening to his his useless explanations. But as a result of that association that he gave to Vallabhacharya, then Vallabhacharya was benefited by that. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj commented on that pastime, that the true meaning of tolerance came out in that. Like tolerating something undesirable, but with some progressive spirit, Like through toleration of this person, then something higher can come out of it, It's very, very instructive, Yes. See, I always say, Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's like a practical handbook, like daily Krishna conscious life. The true meaning of tolerance, it came out, in that situation. And then Gadadhar actually ended up giving initiation to him, gave him a mantra. So he always had this very gentle and timid nature. And he also, he lived in Navadvip previously, when Mahaprabhu was there as Nimai Pandit, and Gadadhar, he showed himself as a great devotee from his birth, from the very beginning, but Mahaprabhu, he had his leela of scholarship, and so Mahaprabhu, he went through a period of showing himself to be a little unfriendly to the devotees. And sometimes he would give the devotees a hard time. He would tease them, and particularly Gadadhar Pandit, he would tease him, and sometimes he would have some debate with him. He had this like argumentative mood, Mahaprabhu, as Nimai Pandit, and he would have enter into a debate with Gadadhar. And because Mahaprabhu was such a brilliant scholar, then he could easily defeat Gadadhar. But then, and this is also mentioned in Premadharma Deva Stotram, then Mahaprabhu would turn his argument around and argue in favor of Gadadhar's position and defeat his own original argument. like that. And so sometimes, it got to the point where it was so bad that if Gadadhar or some of the other devotees would see Mahaprabhu approaching them, then they would cross over to the other side, so to avoid him. And Gadadhar, he used to think, that Nimai Pandit, he's full of like so many good qualities. If only he could be a devotee of Krishna, and then he would be perfect, and then we would have, like a very strong, member in our group. And then, of course, eventually Mahaprabhu, he showed his pastime of being converted. And when he went to Gaya to perform the last rites for his father, and then he began to express this mood of deep devotion and separation from Krishna. Kaha mur prananat murali vadan, kaha pao kaha jao Rajendra Nandan. Where has that Lord of my life, that beautiful flute player Krishna, gone? Where can I find him? Where can I go to get him? Please tell me, like this. And when he came back, then the first thing he did was he organized a meeting at the home of one of the Vaishnavas, and so that he called for all the Vaishnavas to come, and it was like a major achievement, like for the group of Vaishnavas. This was like a major event, that they had like the number one scholar, Nimai Pandit, this famous and powerful scholar. Now he had become like a helpless devotee of Krishna. There's a description in Chaitanya Bhagavat of maybe Shuklam Bar Brahmachari, and some of the devotees, they're like picking flowers, and they're having this conversation, like, oh, you heard the news about Nimai Pandit, And so they organize this meeting so Mahaprabhu can speak with the devotees and express his heart, and Gadadhar Pandit, his heart is tied, inextricably with Mahaprabhu's heart. And so there's a description when Mahaprabhu's in this meeting, in this gathering, and he's crying these tears of separation, and then he hears in the house somebody else is crying, and Mahaprabhu asks, "So who is that?" And then somebody tells him, "Oh, it is your Gadadhar. Your Gadadhar." He was like hiding in some corner in the house, quietly, and like feeling, that heart of Mahaprabhu and crying. And then, and there's also that, also when he was still in Navadvip, there's that famous pastime with Punjarik Vidyanidhi, when Punjarik Vidyanidhi, he is Rishabhanaraj, the father of Srimati Radharani and Krishna Lila. And he appeared as a wealthy Vaishnav, and I can't remember the name of the village that he was from. But he had kind of like a summer house in Navadvip, because Navadvip was like a center, especially within Bengal. It was like a center of learning. It was a wealthy place, a very highly cultured place at that time. And so, the Ganges was there, the river Ganges. So often wealthy persons, they would have another home there. They would come to visit and stay in sometimes. So Punjarik Vidyanidhi had a second home there in Navadvip, and he would come sometimes to stay there. And so he came at one time, and he wasn't known amongst the group of the Vaishnavas, because he is from this other village. But Mukunda Dat, he was from the same village as Pundarik Vijayanidhi. And so he knew who Pundarik Vijayanidhi was, in the sense that he knew what a great Vaishnava he was. And so he arrived there, and Mukunda wanted to go and visit him at his home. And he invited Gadadhar Pandit, would you like to come with me? There's this great Vaishnava who's visiting. And of course Gadadhar was very excited, and he said yes, And so he accompanied Mukunda, and so they reached the home of Pundarik Vijayanidhi, and Mukunda introduced Gadadhar to Pundarik. But Gadadhar, he was taken aback because Pundarik, he was a great devotee, but he wasn't displaying himself as a great renounced sadhu. He dressed in a very luxurious way, and had this like long curling hair, and
smeared with oil.
Yeah, well-oiled hair, and he was resting on a bed with silken sheets and comfortable cushions, and he had a pipe that he was smoking. Oh no, a pipe isn't like, that's a cigarette. A pipe, I don't know how you hold a pipe.
You hold a pipe like that.
Okay.
Like you put.
It's okay. We have an expert in the room. It's okay.
In a bowl of fruits. All sorts of fruits.
Gurudev actually, he knew the type of tobacco that he smoked. He said it was a very expensive type of tobacco that he would smoke, And he had also a spittoon, like a fancy spittoon pot for pan, next to him, and he had a servant fanning him, And Gadadhar's nature, as we've said, was very simple and extremely renounced from his birth, and he wasn't accustomed to seeing a Vaishnava like this, presenting themselves like this. So he was very surprised and started to feel a little uncomfortable. What kind of a Vaishnava is this? I haven't met a Vaishnava like this before. And he was, wondering in his mind. And meanwhile, Mukunda introduced him, and Pundarik greeted him, and there were some pleasantries explained. And Mukunda could understand, what Gadadhar was thinking. And he began to chant this very beautiful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam that is spoken by Uddhava, glorifying Krishna, glorifying Krishna's merciful nature. Aho bhakiyam stanakalukutam jigamsaya payevad apyasadvi debe gatim dachi uchitam tutonyam kamva dayalam sharanam merjema. It's describing how Putana, she smeared poison on her breast to try to kill Krishna. She appeared as this nursemaid and tried to poison Krishna, to kill him. But Krishna, he was so merciful that he simply saw her intention to feed him, and so he gave her a position as a nurse. And so, Kamba Dayalam Sharanam Brajema, who is more merciful than Krishna? What more merciful shelter will I find, more than Krishna? Who can be more who can be more merciful? What higher shelter can I find? To whom else can I surrender other than to Krishna? It's a very, heart-rending expression. It's like as a question, as a rhetorical question, like, to whom else can I surrender? And so then Pundarik Vijayanidhi, he heard that. And immediately he entered into this ecstatic mood, and he began to tear at his clothes, tear at his hair, and he fell onto the ground. He was rolling on the ground in ecstasy, and he kept repeating this, Kamva Dayalam Sharanam Vrajema, Kamva Dayalam Sharanam Vrajema. There's a very beautiful description of it in Chaitanya Bhagavat, and it's saying like what happens with that beautiful hair, what happened to those like silken cushions, those things were looking like, it was appearing before, like Pundarik Vijayanidhi was identifying with these things, and now, in remembrance of Krishna, it became clear, like he was utterly indifferent to all of these things. They meant nothing to him. And so Gadadhar, he saw that, and he was astonished, to see what kind of devotion was in the heart of Pundarik Vijayanidhi. Mahaprabhu used to call him Prema Nidhi sometimes. And the word needy, it means like a reservoir. And so Vidya Nidhi means a reservoir of knowledge, but Mahaprabhu would call him Prema Nidhi, like a reservoir of prema. In our Arti song in the morning, he is described there like that. It's Prema Nidhi. So Gadadhar, he observed this, and he began to feel very bad. Felt that, I made this mental offense. We were speaking of mental offenses. So he felt, I've made this mental offense, towards such a great devotee, and how can I rectify that? And so he considered, and he thought, well, if I take initiation from him, he had not yet taken his mantra from anyone yet. And so he thought, if I take initiation from him, then he will excuse me of any offenses. Because the guru is like the father, and the father does not consider the offenses of the son. So he thought, I must take initiation from him. And I think he might have asked Mahaprabhu for his blessings and permission first, and then he took initiation from him. And then later, which is very significant because, as we said, Pundarik Vijayanidhi was Rishabhanu, and, the father of Radharani, and who is Gadadhar but Radharani in Gaura Leela. And then later, Gadadhar, he was always in such a mood of intense ecstasy, he forgot his mantra. And he was in Puri at the time, and Pundarik was not there, and so Gadadhar asked Mahaprabhu, I forgot my mantra. Can you give me? Can you reinitiate me? Can you give me a mantra again? But Mahaprabhu he said no. He refused. He said, no, your guru is Pundarik. He is coming soon. And you can take from him again. And Gurudev commented, he showed this example, honoring that connection that they had, Mahaprabhu also used to call Pundarik Vijayanidhi Bap. He began, I think it was on one occasion, a few days before Pundarik came to Navadvip, he started calling out Bap. Bap means father. So in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And, it is a very, we feel very cautious always, to attempt to, say something in glorification of Gadadhar Pandit, because his position is so particular, and it's a very fine understanding that we must have about who is Gadadhar Pandit. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he wrote that extraordinary poem, and he also wrote a wonderful, really amazing article about Gadadhar Pandit. And he describes there how Gadadhar performed the most, he performed the highest sacrifice that could ever be made. And he was making some comparison he gave some famous Vedic examples of persons who are celebrated for having sacrificed various things. There was an example of a king who sacrificed their kingdom, another person who'd sacrificed their body, and I think he mentioned also Socrates, who gave up his life for demonstrating his faith and the Atma and the soul. And then Srila Sridhar Maharaj explained, actually none of these sacrifices from the absolute perspective can be considered very valuable, in the absolute sense. If we understand that we are soul, and if we're identifying with our nature as spirit souls, then to sacrifice your life even, what to speak of, money and so on and so forth, it's not very important. It's not very significant. And how and Srila Sridhar Maharaj spoke of how the highest attainment of any soul is prema. Prema is the greatest wealth of the soul. And who has the greatest, the highest development of prema? Radharani. And so that was what was sacrificed, Radharani sacrificed her prema, her love, her mood of devotion, her heart. Srila Sridhar Maharaj commented there that the value of a sacrifice, it may be determined by two factors, who is the recipient of that sacrifice and what it is that is being sacrificed. So in the case of Gadadhar, then the highest sacrifice is offered to the highest recipient. And it is a very interesting and significant point for discussion, in our own lives of attempting to serve and progress. What are we sacrificing? Are we sacrificing in a physical sense? It is, our sacrifice. It may begin in a gross sense, but it should develop to subtler and subtler planes of sacrifice. And we also want to be careful in directing that sacrifice to the proper agent, the proper transparent agent who can offer that up. Our sacrifice, our very self should be sacrificed through a transparent via media. And in that way it will reach the highest destination. So Gadadhar, he performs the ultimate sacrifice. That article is really very, very wonderful. We can all read that. And Gadadhar, I was listening earlier to one of Gurudev's talks on this day, and he was also telling the pastime when Mahaprabhu he went to when he tried to go to Vrindavan, he tried to go one time and he had to turn back, and then later he was able to go. But the first time he was trying to go, Gadadhar was insisting, no, I must go with you, because he was like a shadow, to Mahaprabhu, and they were so inextricably connected, and so to be separated from Mahaprabhu was unbearable. And so Gadadhar was begging Mahaprabhu, please, I have to go with you, you're going to Vrindavan. But Gadadhar, he had taken, there's a type of sannyas called kshetra sannyas, when you take a vow to stay in a holy place for your whole life, not to go anywhere else. And so Gadadhar had taken that kind of vow, that he would stay in Puri and render service there, and he had this Gopinath deity that he served. So Mahaprabhu told Gadadhar, how can you come with me? You cannot abandon your kshetra sannyas. And Gadadhar said, oh, my kshetra sannyas, it is fulfilled hundreds of times over by being with you, like something like that. And he was insisting, and so he followed Mahaprabhu up to a certain point, up to Katak. And then Mahaprabhu just told him very firmly, you cannot come with me, you have to go back. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he gave a very profound explanation of that because, Gadadhar is, what is Vrindavan? Vrindavan is it is the heart of Radharani. She is the queen of Vrindavan. Vrindavan is the place of her service. But, who is Gadadhar? Gadadhar is Radharani with her heart being taken away. So, ontologically speaking, it would be impossible for him to go there. So Mahaprabhu did not allow him. But then, as things worked out, Mahaprabhu was not able to go. He went first to Bengal. He stopped in Navadvip, and as he was traveling, then there was a huge crowd that started to follow him. And then he reached the border of Bengal, Ramkeli, and that's where Rupa and Sanatan were staying. They were in the service of the government there. That was like a base. And Sanatan, he advised Mahaprabhu, you should not go to Vrindavan like this with this big crowd surrounding you. It's a little risky. Because, most of the country was under Muslim rule, and there's like this, Mahaprabhu's appearing like this powerful Hindu prophet, and, with big crowd around him. Then they might, the Muslim leaders may start to feel threatened, And also, I think there's also some indication there, like if you're going to Vrindavan, it's better to go in a quiet way, in a humble, quiet way. So Sanatan gives this advice to Mahaprabhu, and then Mahaprabhu considers, and he says, Sanatana, Sanatana Mukhe Krishna More Shikaila. That through the mouth of Sanatan, Krishna has instructed me. Which is a significant point. This is little what you were talking about earlier. That, Mahaprabhu, this was coming, he's saying, through the mouth of Sanatan, Krishna spoke to me. He's recognizing the voice of Krishna, the message of Krishna through the mouth of somebody else. Gurudev, he really liked that it was the, I don't know if they still use it, but, and I only found out recently, HMV, like that actually stands for His Master's Voice. You know HMV, the record company, right? And they used to have, I think it's a very old advert. I don't even know if HMV still exists. Have you heard of HMV? They haven't heard of HMV.
It's a big store, music store.
Yeah.
In the UK.
Is it only in England?
Maybe in America as well.
Okay. Anyway, they're a major record company. But they used to have this like advertising slogan or image of like a big gramophone and a dog like running to the gramophone, like because the master's voice is being played on a record, and so the voice is, the master's not there, but his voice has been recorded and is playing on the gramophone, and the dog is hearing that voice and coming running. Like, oh, I'm recognizing the voice of my master here, Gurudev really liked that. So in the same way, we do, you made a very good point, that we want to develop this type of vision and hearing where we're able to detect when, our Guru's voice, when our Guru's message is coming to us. It may come in an unexpected way through an unexpected agent. But we have to have that discerning eye, discerning ear to be able to recognize that. So Mahaprabhu, he made that wonderful expression. Through the mouth of Sanatan, Krishna has instructed me. And so Mahaprabhu turned back. He went back to Puri. But when he came back, he told all the devotees, I could not go because, Gadadhar was unhappy. Because I made Gadadhar unhappy, so I had to come back. So very, very loving and very sweet relationship. And he appeared and disappeared on the Amavasya day. That means the dark moon day, no moon day. And Gurudev has mentioned it as a sign of humility. And Gurudev also pointed out, it is the exact same titi that Gadadhar Pandit and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they left. So their disappearance day is coming soon, I think. It is in the next month or so, I think. And that is also the Amavasya day. And then Srila Sridhar, she also left on the Amavasya day. So Gurudev, he pointed out, significance there, some, special connection between these Vaishnavas. Well, I think we can stop there. Today we pray we may be forgiven for any offenses, that we know we have committed. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Srila Gadadhar Pandit Goswami Avirbhav Mahamahotsava Ki Jai, Jai Gaur Premanande.